Mega Mega Mishra, who is a branding and strategy analyst. I would like to get you on over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me over. And we heard a lot of good and interesting insights. I hope the audience is liking it. So we heard about different aspects, and I'm going to cover about the communication piece. How communication is the key to success for all brand marketing strategies. So I will start with the quotation. Basically, they say, you can't sell anything if you can't tell anything. So I guess it's very important to be a very good storyteller. So like we know, what is marketing? Marketing is essentially, the integrated marketing communication is, way of looking at the entire marketing process, the whole marketing process from the point of view of the consumers. And when you build a rapport with the consumer, then you're able to sell. And I will come to to the aspect how it will automatically sell, upsell. So starting first, it would be like, how do you build this rapport with the consumer? The first key ingredient of this is you need to have good conversations with the consumer. And how do you have good conversations? I mean, because there are plenty of brands, everybody is trying to talk with the consumers. So there are so many things. Everybody wants to reach out to that single customer and wants to upsell up, wants to scale and market them well. So what is the key? The key is building trust with the brand. So, for example, I will want to talk about one particular, strategy. I think we are all aware of the case wherein there's a leading chocolate brand, and some time back there were worms in that chocolate. So the sales went down. What did the brand do? The brand roped in Amitabh Bachchan. So why did the brand roped in Amitabh Bachchan? Because Amitabh Bachchan has the credibility amongst the consumers. There was no fancy communication. It was a simple TV ad, TV commercial, wherein Amitabh Bachchan came forward. He spoke about, this chocolate is safe to consume. The packaging has been changed. I eat it. Even my family members, my grandchildren eat it. So there was a connect. And after that, the sales of the brand were back to normal. So they were able to use essentially, you build the rapport through the use of through the credibility that Mr. Amitabh Bachchan enjoyed with the consumers, and they were able to turn around this particular aspect in their strategy. Then, what the other key thing about Amitabh Bachchan was in this particular ad was that he was very authentic. He did not talk about fancy stuff, and being authentic is the key to communication for all brands. If you look at it, for example, we have this this, I mean, so much problem with the pandemic and everything, and we have Mr. Prime Minister talk about Atmanirbhar Abhiyan. So then what happened was he was talking about, all the Indian brands. There should be more brands, there should be more startups, more people coming up into the manufacturing things, coming up, trying to take a lead. Uh, so what happened the next day? Vocal for local was trending across the different platforms. You could see all the brands talking about being that how we are connected. You had ITC Foods, that we have been in this. We are an Indian brand. We had Britannia. We had other brands. In fact, an interesting brand that I would want to mention about was Chowmin. Chowmin is a Chinese brand. But what Manu Kumar Jain, the CEO, came up with was the aspect of that we manufacture in India. The people who are manufacturing these products are Indians. So we are very much Indian. So basically, every Indian brand was trying to build the connect with the Indian audience, and there were certain kind of emotions that were flying very high during this tenure. So everybody wanted to be relatable, to be authentic, to be connected. Then, so authenticity, building trust. These are some of the aspects that brand marketers have to keep in mind while building their communication. The other key aspect is defining your target audience. So you need to create customer avatars. Now, yesterday I was talking about it with one of my clients, and he said, "Yeah, Shivji ka avatar suna tha." विष्णु जी का अवतार सुना था, अब ये कस्टमर अवतार क्या है? So I said, don't worry, it's not as complicated as it seems. It's a very simple process of understanding the consumer very well. So you need to understand and define the consumer persona, and and how you can attain it. So I would like to talk about it in a little more detailed manner. So basically what you need to do is you need to segment your customers. You can segment your customers on the basis of geography, so in geography you need to segment it on the basis of location, city, country, urban, rural India, radius around a certain location, because geo targeting has to be done in the digital marketing space. Then, uh, then the other segmentation has to be done on the basis of demography, on the basis of age, gender, income, family size, annual income, education levels. Other key important segmentation strategy is that tool is behavioral segmentation, which is essentially very important from a marketing perspective, because it helps to understand the purchasing habits, the spending habits, the brand interactions that the consumer is having, and the status of the user. So by looking at the recency of purchase, by looking at the frequency of purchase, a marketer is able to define in which where does the brand interactions are, where how is the consumer interacting with me. So this will help to devise a befitting strategy related to the consumer, related to those consumer personas. Then the other important segmentation is psychographic segmentation, which is based on lifestyle, values, beliefs, personality traits, priorities, and interests in life. It is very important to know where your customer is, what he is doing, where is he hanging out the most. For example, if your customer is a 22-year-old boy who is into Instagram, so the brand needs to target the customer over there. Then, so essentially what we have done is we've understood the customer well. We've understood, we have created these cohorts and consumer personas, and we target them accordingly. It's very important, even for startups who are starting up. I mean, it's not required that you require a whole millions of and tons of money to do these customer research. You can float in a Google survey form amongst the relevant target audience and speak up. I think a lot of brands who have been able to build a very good customer base, loyalty base, they have doing very well on this in interacting with the customers. So speak to the customers, try to understand what he is doing, what kind of, and then what the benefit of this entire strategy is that you are basically eliminating the people who are on the edge. You're only focusing on the people who are at the center. So this helps to even communicate better, which is more relatable, which is more targeted and more focused. And this will help you to build a very good story around the customer. So now you know where your customer, who your customer is, what your customer does, and now how do you communicate? I mean, it should be a formal language, informal language. What kind of language do you want the customer to target? So for that, a very important tool is content research. I really can't emphasize more on how content research is extremely important, extremely critical for all the brand marketers. So, and there are lots of tools that are available. So for example, during COVID-19 times, we find a lot of people, searching for immunity building, immunity building ways. So if you are selling products which help to build immunity, then you can actually target in that particular language to the consumer that, okay, don't worry, don't fear about corona, and we will help you to stay healthy. Similarly, you need to understand, the pain points. You need to solve for those pain points. For example, during these times, we find a lot of parlors and food delivery chains. They're already talking about the most important thing that they're talking about is the hygiene parameters, because hygiene is the most critical pain point of the customer when he or she is visiting a parlor, or when he or she is accepting a food order from a restaurant chain. So it is so the brands have understood this. They're not talking about those fancy jargons and all the other things that they used to talk in the pre-COVID era. Everybody is talking about hygiene. They're talking about this product is safe to consume. So essentially, they have read and understood the consumer problems, they have read and understood the consumer pain points, and they're trying to target essentially on that particular pain point. And you can actually find, for marketers, I would recommend that you should try to understand your customers and search on the reviews on Amazon, on Google, on Quora, on FB forums. And there's so many FB groups. Try to understand what are the kind of interactions the consumer is having on the different social media channel. And after you have understood, so I guess if you have understood your customer very well, you've understood what are his pain points, you have devised a persona for that consumer, for a particular consumer segment, you can essentially weave a very good story. And that story, I can give my word for it, it will be very relatable, it will be very authentic, it will be very real. And the consumer will feel, wow, is this communication designed only for me? So he will feel very empowered. And these are very simple techniques, search techniques, feedback techniques. So what happens once you do all this? What is the end result of all these activities? You have done content research, you have built your different consumer personas, and you're targeting them well. What happens is you have built a base of your own followers, very strong followers who would be your product advocates. And then the marketer can connect to them through different offline and online media channels. So I won't delve into that in the interest of time. However, digital marketing has picked up, dramatically during these times, because that's the major way for consumer outreach during these days. So when you have these, followers, you can target, build a social media strategy, an SEO strategy. Then email marketing is a very interesting tool. So through all these tools, you can actually sell, upsell, and keep reselling and keep getting your consumer. And these your consumers will be your brand ambassadors. So to conclude, I would say, if you have to devise a very good communication strategy, a brand has to devise a very good communication strategy for your consumers. You need to be authentic, you need to be real, you need to have the confidence of the consumers, you need to build multiple consumer personas and target them accordingly, and do content research to understand the pain points, use that particular language, and your brand will be a hit amongst the consumers. Thank you. I look forward to the questions now.
It was really amazing that you gave a very good talk about communication strategies which should be used in a particular industry and about a personal branding and stuff. I really liked about your insights and your kind of giving and outcomes of all this informative. It was very good to have you on a Planotech Media House platform. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
ma'am.
Thank you.
And